What are you guys doing with tier progression? Is it going to be the same amount of matches, so you need, as it is right now, to go from one tier to the next?
Yeah, probably unless you right now everything's open for interpretation or adjustment, but there's really no plans on changing that unless you guys like really hate it. But right now we're pretty happy with it. But
and just keep in mind, I mean we've streamlined the gear, right? So there's no role specific gear right now. And there are no affinity bonuses for the mod slots or anything like that. So you can just kind of put whatever you want in there. So everything became much simpler, streamlined, and stripped down. Trying to outfit your character for both of its roles, or different kind of armory loadouts you want for maybe different kinds of PvP, whether it be death match or node based. That becomes just very simpler because the single piece of armor is more versatile.
Right, and also keep in mind too that you still only need to buy one set of gear, right? just whatever new one you add, because we will just continually bump up your previous gear.
What about the stats increase via skill points? Because that's a huge amount of increase in stats you're going to get. Are they going to be changed or pulled down into the peak?
No, those will remain as they are, and we'll take those into consideration when we're bumping up, when we're increasing the stats of someone who is ungeared as well. So,
yeah.
Back?
Kurosawa, is that right?
Yeah.
How is it going to affect rules?
Sorry. I mean, this is all instance-based stuff.
Yeah. So there are some things. There are some things. Some pieces of this where we can apply the effects because we know you're in a duel. But there's other cases where we cannot.
Open world PvP.
Open world PvP. We can't. We don't have any. We won't have any way to say, oh, you're in a duel, so we're going to deactivate your PvE gear. That unfortunately we can't do. But we can say you're dueling, so. The basic way abilities work and the passive things, those will work, but you'll still be able to wear whatever gear you want, use consumables, all that stuff. So.
What about debuffs?
The debuffs won't be there anymore.
So like a healer versus a tank. I mean, in a duel, it's just going to be.
Well, you're still going to have the advantage of having more effective health than the tank or the healer, depending on who's who.
Honestly, I mean, the short and direct answer, there are going to be some edge cases here, but this stuff is targeted for arenas.
Yeah. So, and you got to remember too, this is step one, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that, I'm not saying we're going to do this, but once we have this technology applied, we can start applying it in many different ways. So, but for right now, we're primarily focused on getting arenas to an awesome state.
The 1v1 stuff that you're talking about, like you can see in lair battles sometimes, right, where you get that crazy mismatch, but that's going to be affected because it's a lair battle inside the instance, okay? But you'll notice that doesn't get addressed necessarily in the duels. What we're really trying to target here too, and you saw Tunso went through a ton of stuff about the group engine, okay, about getting that healer, tank, controller, trinity, or quadrinity worked out. It was so, I mean, everybody in here who PvPs knows how exhausting and demoralizing it was to go through a 15-minute match and have a 0-0 tie, right? That just blew. And so this is really trying to address that fundamental problem, because ultimately the most PvP that happens in the game that represents that percentage we shared with you is arena PvP. And so we needed to start there and target that first. And the general problem was time to KO. And these kind of things are going to address that for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, so sorry we can't give you an answer right now on like dueling in the Watchtower, or well, what if I'm in the PvE phase or PvP phase and I'm going to do ring war? How is this going to affect that? It's not right now.
Yeah. I mean, open world PvP is always traditionally messy and unfair because it's like whoever brings more buddies is going to win with the situation.
All right, who hasn't spoken yet that has their hand up?
Yeah, I don't think.
You, right?
Buzz.
Spectator mode. When's it coming? Come on.
You know I want that.
We almost didn't even have it for the tournament today. I mean, we were scrambling for the last minute. I talked to Josh about this when he first arrived too, and because I know that the PlanetSide 2 guys, can kind of give an account that has these specific GM commands for people that want to do kind of filming of things, and they don't really right now. They don't have an open sort of observer mode right now. There are potential exploits that can be imagined by using such a thing. Right. There's no way for us to get around on a metagame level. Like being on TeamSpeak and have somebody watching the game and telling you where everybody is and what's going on. Right. And I can assure you that people use that advantage, because anytime I freaking stream when I'm PvPing, it's amazing how many people collapse on me at every node I go to as the stream is going. So it's really crazy. Stream sniping, boom, I just get hit all the time. And so it's hard to commit to something like that. I really want it in there for a lot of reasons, but right now we just haven't figured out a way to open that up yet. I wish I could have a better answer for you. Just know it's definitely something I've brought up in the past, but no news on it right now.
I'll bring it up again.
You got it, man. Okay.
John, I believe.
I was wondering, after this change, is it going to affect to the point of we don't need to collect 2 sets of PvP gear?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, no, hold on. So yes, as far as the role standpoint goes, no, if you want to tweak out what mods you have in based on a certain build out or spec.
Now let's roll back to Tarkus again.
Okay. This is something which, with all the arena changes and the stat changes and the role changes, you didn't touch on. There are several classes, Earth and Sorcery. What about the pets and the pet scaling for both damage and health?
Yeah, what about Brick? Let's talk about Brick.
So what we're going to do, because right now you're like, hey, you know what? I'm CR106, and so is my pet. And sorry, little furry guy. So your pets are going to scale to your PvP CR when you're in an arena zone. So so that'll help out people who are low CR or maybe only PvP or whatever.
One suggestion that I do have in creating a more stable PvP community, again, staging area, awesome. I have been PvPing a lot in Guild Wars too, and one thing that they also have is an announcement system. So like when a node is open, it verbally says, the west node is open, the east node is open, this one is captured, heroes captured, this villain captured, that. I can only see it in Arkham Asylum, but that it really helps get new players into the PvP system, and I think that introducing them at scalable levels would really help.
Yeah, there's something. So some of what you said is based on how the content is built in an arbiter or an encounter. Okay, so like arbiter messages that go up on the screen. But there's other stuff that we're failing to do consistently in the UI too, specifically on the minimap, like showing me, on the moon what node is controlled by who and where they are. Where we do that on other maps, like Australia. So there needs to be a level of consistency in messaging there to know where to go, and we aren't consistently doing that. And look for those things to be addressed when the new UI comes up. And also, we would have to go back in certain cases though and add hooks into that, because those are all every one of those is a snowflake. It's not a system, right? Because every single arena is a snowflake. So SJ has to write the message, or a designer does, right? And then Jesse and Donovan and his team have to actually put the hook into the arbiter. So those things just have to be tackled on a case-by-case basis. And I can tell you this: I would love a dev discussion thread on messaging in arenas that would help, and you all could contribute to areas where you think you'd like to see some messaging either appear in the mission helper or in the arbiter, and we can evaluate that and see what we can do and get things scheduled.
Very good.
Yesterday during the keynote, you announced that you guys were looking at introducing PvP leaderboards. Are you guys also looking at doing ranked and unranked type cube matches, to where, like, if I want to help Trex gear up his tune on the console, we don't.
So what you said, we don't carry Trex.
Right? I'm saying, I'm trying to help. I'm helping Trex out. We don't end up running into Eminence in some way from One Piece.
In your face.
Yeah. But because the whole issue with that was discussed the other day about trying to get PvE players more interested in PvP, you know, the more PvE players are running into the really highly geared, highly skilled players, you know, with the group mechanic also, can be a turnoff, because if they keep running into that same group and that same map all the time, if they have an option to queue into an unranked match versus a ranked match that goes towards that PvP leaderboard, it might be more enticing for them.
Yeah, I can see the benefits from that. It's a good suggestion, but I can also see the downsides of it, which is queue times, especially waiting in ranked matches. So at what point do you want us to say, screw it, let's get a match going here, despite the ranking disparity? How long are you willing to wait as a high-ranked player for a match, because there isn't necessarily another one that is in your ranking to actually get in there and go? What is that threshold? You know, do we determine it just at random? Is it something you opt into? There's just a lot of complication there. And while, you know, we do want to grow our PvP community, now while we're saying that a certain percentage of players play in our PvP community, we still need more people in there to make a rank system that meaningful, because you need that large spread and constant influx, okay? And with so many different roles, us trying to, you know, get you into so many different maps, you know, with different group sizes and things like that, everything becomes much more complicated. You know, when you have a game like, let's say, League of Legends, which has one map, one group size, and everybody gets in there and they can pick whatever character they want, it's agnostic of you and your character or anything like that, then a ranking system becomes, you know, easier to have work well. Whereas for us, we have so many different variables, so many different kinds of PvP, legends, arena, sizes, all that kind of stuff. It gets tougher. It gets tougher to do. You know? So that's why I think actually the better choice right now would be to surface who's playing, right? Let people self-organize. Surface where people are and who they are, you know, so you can see and start making choices. It doesn't help the new necessarily, but it certainly, I think, can help balance things out in terms of what the matches look like and how quickly you can get into them. Yeah. I don't know. It's so sorry. You have thoughts on that?
Oh, I was also going to add there may be some tweaks we can do to the way the matchmaking algorithm works too, because it does right now sort of favor the smaller maps over the large maps. So that things like that may help queue times. And if matches are being started and generated, you know, more often in an appropriate way, then the matchmaking system will have a better chance to work. So that you know, when Trex is playing on his new character, he should ideally be fighting against people of his skill level.
I think if Trex was playing on his old character, he should ideally be fighting people of his skill level.
I got you, Chicken. Right here.
First.
All right, I am being asked to be that guy by a couple buddies.
Okay.
Could you please tell us what the style is for the new PvP season?
Sure. Okay. When do you want me to tell you though? That's the. I didn't specify a time.
Now would be great.
Now would be great. Okay, should I do it? All right. So Nightwing is going to be one of them, and on the other side we have Hush.
Oh
yeah.
Trench coat.
I picked the wrong time to go here.
Eric, look at Eric. Look at Eric. He's like, what did you just do to me? He's already on his phone contacting PR right now.
Change it all. Change it all.
For purchasing gear, are you going to be making changes to how legends over? So I know a lot of people find it a bit ridiculous that people can wear all their rating gear without actually stepping at the exact same rate.
No, I mean, actually, I kind of like the idea that you can gear up, and if gearing up is like if you need that and you want to do that, I really don't have a problem with it, because basically, if the gear disparity is that much of a worry for you, and it's one of those things that I wouldn't play if I didn't have the full gear, I would rather that you play PvP and enjoy it, and then, you know, you're still working towards the gear. You still have to, you know, if you're good at Legends and you're winning more, you're going to advance more quickly. And so I actually don't have a problem with that. So,
Well, are you talking about sharing marks between the two?
Talking about basically being able to
Yeah,
get Legends without.
Sure. You know, we have to analyze that because we actually just made some announcements and changes in terms of how you can acquire Legends characters in the game. So members, you know, can earn them for marks as well. I don't know if that's necessarily something that we want to open up onto the arena side to go the opposite direction. So we would need to really look at that because there are other pricing and perk concerns that go into that now with this new way that we're doing Legends characters. So it's an interesting idea. We can certainly explore it, but there are other complications to it from our perspective.
Last map, Safe House, hostage rescue map. Is your fix coming?
Yeah, U40. It's going to be that and Ace Chemicals will be in the rotation next update.
Slob!
Respawn time. I just feel like it should be standardized because, especially in Legends, I feel like, you know, one team might have more of like an advantage if the other team is getting bad respawn time.
Bad luck.
I feel like it affects, to a degree, you know, the match, whether, and I feel like if the respawn times are standardized, it just brings that much more skill to it rather than sometimes.
So let me ask you this: would you prefer, because the idea or the philosophy behind respawn timers as they are is the idea of respawn waves. So when people are knocked out, everybody's on the same respawn timer. So the idea is, you know, 3 guys get knocked out, and then the respawn wave happens. 3 guys pop up at the same time.
Yeah, it's actually not. It actually does still involve skill, right? Because it's the fact that if you knock them out early in a time window, right, then you're getting an advantage. You knock them out quickly necessarily. If they had just come back and you knock them out again, you're getting a bigger advantage to that than you are if they just have a standard 15-second timer. I know personally for me, I can see going that route. I think both are valid, right? As a viewer, and I do, as you know, a lot of viewing of Legends PvP matches, I actually enjoy that aspect of kind of wondering when that character is going to, you know, disappear and pop up, and did they get a good spawn window or a bad spawn window? Am I going to have time to actually secure them right now if I try it? Because, you know, if you think about that, if everybody has a 15-second timer when they get knocked out, then everybody has an opportunity to get the penalty if they get interacted with, whereas sometimes you can avoid that penalty. Somebody can go and try to interact with you, and you're gone, and back there, they've wasted time. Yes, is there randomness to it? Possibly. I might almost rather look at putting the wave timer up in the HUD to give you better messaging on what the wave timer is so you know it. Rather than fundamentally changing how we do it right now, I might want to experiment with messaging it better.
Yeah, because that would definitely, it would change the dynamics of the game. And I mean, I personally don't have really strong religion either way on it. But the fact of the matter is, you know, it's kind of what we, you know, sort of the motif, and actually spinning the wheel of tragedy to see if you are fortunate.
Wheel of tragedy.
Well, seriously, you see that 10-second respawn, you're like, oh my god. You know, or there's no timer. You're like, yes, give me back in.
I think that you're making a good point and raising a good point. But like I said, I think that I'd be curious what would happen if we actually put the wave timer up there.
Stay back to Ted Stone. Don't you come up here.
Boo, Ted. We'd love more questions.
The actual maximum time. Yeah. Because 10 seconds is 70 points in it. Just right off the bat. That's maybe.
You mean for 1v1?
No, for 2v2. It's both on and it's 7.
Well, don't. Yeah, both of you get knocked out.
Stop dying, Felsa.
Don't die. Stop it. Clearly, there's a problem with you dying.
I think he's saying, like, you just shorten it from 10-second waves to 5 seconds.
That usually hurt enough.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Arena tournament at SOE live.
Yeah, all right, so we want to do more arena PvP on FNL, for sure. Once this, we've been waiting for this to happen because honestly, prior to this, we were trying to do it, and boy, was it boring, right? Did you ever try and watch one? And it was like, you know, just nobody's dying, and we would be sitting there and going, oh my god, somebody's low health team reset. Yeah, there's a sweater. Oh, and it was just ridiculous. We couldn't even comment on anything interesting happening. So we want to do that, but we have to think of some different formats of how we do it. We probably a tournament format would be great if you guys aren't too tired of that. We used to have main event, but we had to stop that because apparently leagues were busting up if they lost main events. Nobody wanted to come on anymore. But yeah, we would love to do arena PvP tournaments, and this has been
we are starting up an arena FNL tour in some shape, as basically as soon as these changes go out.
Would it lead to an arena style tournament at SOE Live?
Depends how many people play.
Yeah, depends on the interest, and I mean, obviously we give prize money for this, so if more people are interested in it, we can probably generate some more prize money. Also, there's time consideration as SOE adds more games to their portfolio. There's less and less time to be found on the Twitch channel, and more tournaments will be run. So we might have to select and choose what we do, or limit the scope of the tournaments at that point. But all of this entire panel, its whole purpose is to tell you, the PvP community, that we are really focused and dedicated to our PvP game modes, and we have heard the feedback of how you like Legends so much more for these reasons than you like Arena PvP, what your frustrations are with that, and we want to address those so that the two can feel a little similar, and you can enjoy both equally. And that would mean our focus, at least on FNL for now, to start doing a tour, an arena tour for PvP, and hopefully, if enough interest happens, we can see that here at SOE Live.
Awesome.
Hopefully. Do we have time for one more question, if there is one, or are we done? One more question. Who wants it? Dude, he's out. Buzz is like, I got my answer. All right. Marcus, we're leading it off and bringing it home.
Just something which came up from some of the other discussions that we were having, based on the questions of Trex and ranked matching and whatnot. A lot of times, a lot of people who are hanging out in LFG
He's the poster child for ranked matches now.
Or looking for anybody for scrimmage, or looking for casual maps. Just a way to flag your character maybe along the lines of what Ticken was saying. Say, hey, I'm available for any scrimmages. Not necessarily have to be like a scrimmage queue, but some way to.
I would lump that under our objectives to just become more visible with what the player base is doing in general in PvE and PvP. You need to be able to find people easier. LFG is a crappy solution.
You can visually see when somebody's looking for duels.
Death to the LFG channel. That was a stopgap solution that we put in because we couldn't see this other stuff. Yes, that would fall under that umbrella in my opinion. All right, awesome panel. So,